Gargantuan Echoes of Navos. Prologue: Voices in Chains. The slave hall was alive with cruelty. Torches sputtered against the damp stone walls, casting jagged shadows across rows of cages. Chains clinked like a grim symphony, punctuated by the laughter of merchants and mercenaries who had come to bid on flesh. The air was thick with smoke and sweat, the stench of despair woven into every breath. Julian moved through the crowd with quiet grace, his black feathered wings folded tight against his back. He was a fallen angel, and though the light of his former station had long since dimmed, there was still something in his bearing that unsettled those who looked too closely. His face was pristine, almost too perfect, but his eyes carried the weight of endless grief. They were black pools, deep and unyielding, and when they fixed on someone, it was as though he saw through them entirely. Beside him strode Benjamin Vox. Ben was broader, heavier, his presence less ethereal and more brutal. His jaw was set like stone, his eyes sharp and unyielding. Once, he had been a charmer, a man whose words could win hearts. But Gargantuan had taken everything from him, and what remained was a warrior stripped of softness. His voice was his weapon, an audiokinetic force that could bend reality itself, and tonight, he carried it like a blade ready to strike. The two of them were an unlikely pair. Julian, the chronicler turned reluctant leader, and Ben, the sayer whose words could topple armies. Yet they moved with purpose, weaving through the throng of slavers and bidders, their eyes fixed on the cage at the far end of the hall. Inside that cage was Ravla Silverfong. She was immense, her body a monument of muscle and feral grace. Her silver hair hung in tangled waves, her lupin eyes glowing faintly under the torchlight. She crouched low, her breath coming in growls that made the slavers keep their distance. She was no ordinary captive. She was a wolf woman of a race nearly extinct, a survivor of worlds Gargantuan had already consumed. To the slavers, she was a prize, a beast to be broken and sold. To Julian, she was something else entirely. Julian's gaze locked on her, and for the first time in years, his composure faltered. Ravla recognized it instantly, the look in his eyes. She knew those eyes, the look of a man surprised by what he saw, enticed but controlled. His gaze was not the gaze of a predator or a buyer. It was the gaze of someone who meant her no harm, someone who carried desire but tempered it with restraint. One of the slavers noticed and laughed. "Look at him. Fool thinks he can tame her with a stare. He'll be dead before he gets close." Another sneered. "That beast tore 3 men apart last week. Let him try. We'll sell what's left of him too." Ben's lip curled. "You're already dead," he muttered, his voice low but sharp enough to cut. The slavers froze, unsettled by the venom in his tone. Julian ignored them. He stepped forward, his wings brushing against the bars, and lowered himself to Ravla's level. She inhaled sharply, her nostrils flaring as she caught his scent. It was sweet, too sweet. A man who bathed and anointed his body in oil almost daily. A mask, hiding the scent of open sky and feathers, but beneath the layers of discipline and bonds, she sensed something raw, desire, unspoken and restrained. Julian stepped forward, making his way to the cage, and flicked out his hand to the shock of the slavers watching, a cold wave of dark light peeling from his fingertips. He stepped into the cage without stopping, pulling up his finger to Ravla and pulling her attention down to him, a gesture that the slavers knew transcended any speech differences between the two. To their astonishment, she pulled her chained form down to knee and swept down to him, now hung low near his face, her ear just before his face. Turning toward the most keen of the slavers, a large belied man staring daggers at Julian, his wings whipped up, blocking the clearly private conversation from view, but ensure the man knew it as his black eyes were the last thing he saw before the dark angel's black wings now hid them almost completely from view. And then Julian whispered to Ravla, his voice soft but resonant. "I know you're not going to believe me, but I need you to listen until the end." I am a dark angel from the outer reaches of the multiverse. You are the only one of your kind left. In 6 hours, this place will be ripped to shreds. Undead barbarian hordes with cosmic weapons will swarm and kill or convert anyone who opposes them. My people cannot stop it, but we are trying to reach the source, to shut it down. Your being unique, your being alone, puts you at an advantage. The best advantage. I'm offering once. Stay here, or come with us. You must decide now. Ravla stared at him, her heart pounding. His words were madness, yet his eyes told her they were true. She could see the endless grief in him, the loss etched into every line of his face. She glanced up at Varglax, her handler, for just a moment. She could see him agitated through the black feathers, though she was just as sure that he could not see her gazing back. And she could smell Julian, small traces of longing, of hunger, of something he would never admit. Her voice was rough, uncertain. Why me? Why not someone else? Julian's gaze did not waver. We don't know much, but we know that only people who exist once in the multiverse can travel through time and space like we do. You're the last you. All other worlds you exist on, all other universes are wiped out. This one will be too.
Soon.
As in ours. She hesitated, then nodded. I'll go. Julian's lips curved into the faintest smile, relief and sorrow mingling with his handsome features as the black wings fell away. He turned to Ben, who had been watching silently, arms crossed. Ben raised an eyebrow, but smirked when Julian nodded that they were good. Ben sighed, then stepped forward. His voice was a weapon, and tonight he wielded it with restraint. He uttered a single note, and the entire hall fell silent. Slavers, bidders, guards, all collapsed into sleep, their bodies crumpling like puppets with cut strings. Ravla's eyes widened. What did you do?
Ben Schmierked.
Made them shut up. Easier this way. Julian raised a glowing finger, ready to free her completely, but she stopped him. My mind, my ability to transform, they've been inhibited. Neural restraints. Without a doctor, I can't. Julian silenced her with a touch. His finger brushed the restraints, and they fell away harmlessly, dissolving into sparks. Ravla gasped as her mind cleared, her power flooding back into her veins. She felt whole again, alive, free. She looked at him, her voice trembling. Why are you helping me? Julian's eyes softened. Because you are needed. Because you deserve more than chains.
Ben snorted.
Don't get sentimental. Ravla's lips curled into a faint smile. You're both insane. Julian extended his wing, black feathers wrapping around her protectively. She pulled away, shaking her head at his jest, but Ben just answered seriously. We know. They moved through the hall, stepping over the sleeping slavers. Ravla glanced at Ben, curiosity in her eyes. You don't care if they die? Ben's voice was cold. They're already dead. Gargantuan will wipe this place clean. I'm just saving us the trouble. Julian added quietly, he's right. Mercy here is wasted. Outside, the night was heavy with stars, the sky a tapestry of distant worlds already burning. Their ship awaited, the Aerobase, a station that existed at the heart of the multiverse, between space and time. As they boarded, Ravla looked back at the slave hall. I should hate them all, but I don't. Julian's voice was gentle. Hate later.
For now, survive.
Julian's eyes lingered on her, and for a moment, she caught that same look again, the look of a man surprised, enticed but controlled. She inhaled deeply, savoring the faint traces of desire she had sensed before. He noticed, his brow furrowing in curiosity. What are you doing? He asked. Nothing, she replied, content with the scent, content with the bond forming between them. The Aerobase hummed to life, its engines resonating with the pulse of the multiverse. Julian stood at the helm, his eyes fixed on the stars. Ben leaned against the wall, arms crossed, his expression hard. Ravla sat between them, her body tense, but her heart strangely calm. She had been a prisoner, a beast, a commodity. Now she was something else, a warrior, a companion, a part of something greater. And though the night was filled with the promise of war, though the multiverse trembled under the shadow of Gargantuan, she felt hope. Hope born not of faith in gods or rituals, but of faith in a fallen angel whose eyes had seen her, truly seen her, and chosen to believe she mattered. Chapter 1. Moon of Ruin, Moon of Faith. The aero base drifted in silence at the heart of the multiverse, its engines humming with the resonance of time itself. Within its halls, the misfit band gathered, each carrying scars from worlds already lost. Julian stood at the helm, his black wings folded, his gaze fixed on the stars beyond. He had seen too many universes burn, too many homeworlds reduced to ash. His voice was calm, but his eyes betrayed the weight of memories he could never escape. Selena leaned against the bulkhead, arms crossed, her crimson eyes gleaming with sardonic amusement. She was an autocog vampire, her body a fusion of supernatural curse and mechanical precision. Her wit was sharp, her tongue sharper, and she had a habit of cutting through illusions with brutal honesty. "So, this is the grand plan?" she drawled. "Fly to some dead moon, pray to a wolf god none of us believe in, and hope the universe doesn't implode before we finish?" Ravla bristled, her silver hair catching the dim light. "You mock what you don't understand," she growled. "The Temple of Lobos is sacred. My people—" "Your people are gone," Selena interrupted, her tone flat. "Extinct. You're the last, remember? That's why Julian dragged you out of that cage. Not because of your faith, but because you're unique. And uniqueness is currency in this war. But how are you going to gain the boon of Lobos when you don't even believe in Lobos?" Ravla's eyes narrowed, but she said nothing. Julian stepped between them, his voice steady. "Enough. We're not here to argue belief. We're here because Navos holds answers. The temple may be ruined, but its stones remember, and Ravla must see what lies beneath." From the shadows, a figure emerged, tall and broad, clad in green. His beard was wild, his eyes sharp with mischief and malice. His name was Taran Gagnok, and he was a leprechaun, exiled for his rudeness and aggression, antagonistic toward Ben but loyal in his own way. Taran smirked, his voice dripping with sarcasm. "Ah, Julian, ever the optimist. You think a pile of rocks will save us? I say we weaponize the moon itself. Selena, you and I can turn Navos into a fortress. Turrets, lasers, the works. Let the G come. We'll give them a welcome they won't forget." Ben snorted, his arms crossed. "You always think with cannons, Taran, but cannons don't stop time. They don't stop Gargantuan." Torin's grin widened. "Maybe not, but I've got something better. A temporal bomb. Blast 'em to the Stone Age, I call it. Detonate it in the upper atmosphere, and we can bend time itself. Reset the board." Julian's eyes darkened. "We tried that. Traveling through time, escaping into the past. It doesn't work. The paradoxes consume us. The hordes follow. But if you believe it will buy us time, then do whatever you must." Taran bowed mockingly. "Permission granted. I'll make sure the G choke on their own future." The aero base descended toward Navos, the ruined moon looming like a scar against the stars. Its surface was cracked, its mountains caved in, and at its heart lay the shattered Temple of Lobos. The worshippers were long gone, their bones buried beneath centuries of dust. Yet the temple still pulsed faintly with energy, a remnant of rituals long forgotten. Selena and Taran set to work immediately. The vampire's mechanical sight scanned the minerals, her voice sharp as she directed Taran. "Use the iron veins here. Channel the quartz into conduits. The moon's core can power the turrets if you align the lattice properly." Taran grumbled but obeyed, his magic weaving through stone and metal. Soon, towers rose from the surface, bristling with cannons that glowed with lethal light. The moon itself became a weapon, its craters transformed into defense grids. Meanwhile, Ravla and Julian approached the temple. The wolf woman knelt before the altar, her massive frame trembling. She whispered prayers, but the words felt hollow. It doesn't work, she muttered. I don't know Lobos. I don't believe. Julian placed a hand on her shoulder, his voice gentle. Faith isn't about gods. It's about what you choose to believe. What do you believe in, Ravla? She looked at him, her eyes burning.
You.
I believe in you. Julian's breath caught, but he did not pull away. Her confession was raw, vulnerable, and it pierced the armor he had built around his heart. He nodded slowly. I believe in you too. As her words settled, Ravla's vision shifted. The temple glowed, its stones alive with lunar energy. Her eyes widened as she saw beyond the veil. An obsidian and gold palace, its architecture defying physics. Within, a man in black robes dusted the ceiling of his throne room, his face pallid, his presence strange. Then he suddenly stopped dusting, his face looking up as though hearing something familiar in the distance before his face turned right to Ravla, his dark eyes burning into hers until she saw another vision of Navos burning in a fit of light and power that woke her from the lunar vision. The vivid sequence of events lasted only a moment, but it left her trembling, her body drenched in sweat. She collapsed unconscious, and when she awoke 3 days later, the world had changed. Her vision was blurred now, between past and present, and she lurched from the ruins, seeing events play out around her with increasing intensity. The defenses were in ruins, the moon overrun. Techno-zombies swarmed across the surface, their cosmic weapons tearing through turrets and towers. Selena fought desperately, her drones whirring, her voice barking commands. Tauren was gone, his body lost in the upper atmosphere, battling billions of the G alone. For 2 days he had held them back, his magic burning, his strength fading. And then he was gone. Julian and Ben stood at the front lines, their powers carving through the endless tide. Ben's voice shattered ranks, his words slicing through flesh and steel. Julian's wings glowed with twilight, his strikes precise and deadly. But the swarm was endless, and the moon was dying. Ravla staggered to them, her body weak, but her spirit fierce. I saw, she yelled over the fighting. Julian glanced at her, his eyes grim yet triumphant.
Yes.
Now we leave. Selena? Selena snarled, her face pale with exhaustion. We can't hold them. The turrets are gone. The drones are failing. Julian's voice was firm. Then we retreat. Navos is lost. They fled, the arrow base tearing free from the moon's gravity. Behind them, the swarm consumed everything. Tauren was gone, his sacrifice unspoken. Yet as they mourned, a signal flickered on the main video screen. A hologram appeared, Tauren's face weary but defiant. Regrets, he said, his voice rough. I regret not betting Selena. I regret not avenging my people. But most of all, I regret not seeing Ben rip Gargantuan's face clean off. Still, I had a family of misfits. That's enough. Keep fighting. Don't stop. Ben, stoic and brooding, laughed. It was a rare sound, harsh but genuine. Damn fool, he muttered. Julian's eyes softened. He did more than prove himself. He gave us time. Selena looked away, her voice trembling. I'll miss him, even if he was insufferable. The arrow base drifted into silence once more, the crew battered but alive. Ravla sat beside Julian, her eyes lingering on him as she felt she wanted to crush her body over him, but she battled back the impulse. I meant what I said, she whispered. I believe in you. Julian met her gaze, his voice quiet. Then hold on to that, because that may be all we have left. And we don't have much by the way of the lead either, said Selena. What do you mean? Asked Ben. Well, the vision Ravla saw, the dark man in the obsidian and gold palace, that was the Chaos Lord of Truth. He's super huge in the underworld. Dark nobility, demon lords, vampire kings, terror knights, they all bow to him. The ancient libraries had books about him and the other Chaos Lords. Because Ravla saw him in a vision, he may be the only one that could actually help us, explained Selena. There's one more thing, though, added Ravla cautiously. They all looked at her, almost suspended through time. Julian looked up at her from where he was sitting beside her, curiously. What? When I saw the Chaos Lord, he could see me back, somehow, she revealed, unsure how they would take it. Good. Then he should know we're coming, said Julian, putting an assuring hand on her side, which almost made her tremble. Outside, the stars burned, and somewhere in the void, Torin's body fell, seething with power. The temporal bomb pulsed within him, waiting. And when the aerobase vanished into the multiverse, the bomb detonated again, ripping through time itself. Navos shuddered, the past and present colliding, and the echoes of Gargantuan spread once more. Chapter 2. Dust on the Throne. The palace of the Chaos Lord was not built in any time or place the group could recognize. It stood outside of chronology, a structure that seemed to exist in perpetual dusk, its walls shimmering with colors that shifted like oil on water. The gates opened without sound, as if the palace itself had already decided their arrival was inevitable. Julian led the way, his wings folded tight, his eyes wary. Ben followed, his jaw clenched, his voice silent but ready. Ravla's massive frame moved with cautious strength, her lupin eyes scanning every shadow. Selena walked last, her crimson gaze sharp, her mechanical senses humming with unease. Inside, the throne room stretched impossibly high, its ceiling vanishing and reappearing between mists and depictions of mists. And there, upside down, covered in mist, dusting the ceiling with deliberate strokes, was Lord Kenneth Voidcrusher. His robes were black, tucked and simple, his face pallid, his expression unreadable. He moved with the casual indifference of a man cleaning his own house, not a ruler. Selena stepped forward, her voice formal, her body bowing low. Lord Kenneth Voidcrusher, Chaos Lord of Truth, we come seeking your wisdom. We. Kenneth laughed, the sound sharp and mocking. He descended with a single, almost invisible flip, landing lightly before them. No one does that anymore, he said, his tone sardonic.
Bowing.
Titles. Formality. It's all so boring. You stumble over your words like a child rehearsing lines. Try again, vampire lass. Selena faltered, her face pale. I only meant respect. Respect. Kenneth's eyes gleamed. Respect is a currency spent by those who have nothing else to offer. You bow because you think I want it. I don't. I want chaos. I want truth. And truth is what you fear most. Julian stepped forward, his voice steady. Then hear our truth. The multiverse is collapsing under Gargantuan's influence. He exists in layers, Gargantuan, each seated across time. He prunes universes, consumes them, leaves nothing. We seek a way to stop him. The Chaos Lord did not immediately even register he had heard anything the Dark Angel had said. He merely looked into those black eyes that for the first time gave back an unsure measure of finality. Something about this man, this Chaos Lord, his gaze held an inhuman intelligence beyond even the cosmic. Though Julian did not know him, he could not shake there was nothing to hide from this being, nothing he could say that was not already said. Lord Kenneth finally tilted his head, studying Julian. Ah, the fallen angel, chronicler of celestials, savior of condemned humans, releasing them from hell to paradise, only to be stained by your own creators. You speak of truth, but you hide behind reason. You think intelligence will save you. It won't. You're scarred by betrayal, Julian. You betrayed your own people's rules so that you could feel better about following them. You carry the weight of universes, but you cannot carry yourself. Julian's jaw tightened, but he did not respond. He knew this was it, the evaluation. Kenneth turned to Ben, his gaze piercing.
And you?
Benjamin Vox, the Sayer. You memorized every comrade's face, their birthdays, their likes and dislikes. You gave them gifts, tokens of remembrance. And now they are all dead, forgotten. No graves, no markers, no one but you to remember. You are alone, and your rage is all you have left. You think your voice can shatter armies, but it cannot shatter grief. You are a man screaming into the void, hoping someone will answer. No one will. Ben's fists clenched, his teeth grinding. Say what you want. I'll still kill Gargantuan. Kenneth smirked. You'll only succeed in killing yourself. Selena stepped forward, her voice trembling.
And me?
What truth do you see in me? Kenneth's eyes narrowed. You are cursed. A seer who sees everything but knows nothing. You peer into past, present, future, but you are exiled for discovering the truth itself. You tell others what they feel, what they hide, but you cannot face your own emptiness. You are not a vampire from the stars. Vampires never came from the stars, as your people claim. You are an infection, a curse warped by genetic and eldritch tampering. You are a lie given flesh, a lie no better than the Gargantuan. And you cling to visions because they are all you have, even though you cannot see the lie you are in the mirror. Selena's breath caught, her body trembling. She reached into her dress, pulling out a vial hidden beneath her bosom. Inside were the fangs of an elder transcendent vampire, a relic older than herself. She held it out, her voice breaking. Then take this, a monument to my culture, a gift. Once presented, guarantees a boon after evaluation. The dark god of gifts wrote about it when he met you during the dawning. Kenneth took the vial, examined it briefly, then crushed it in his hand. The fangs shattered, the dust scattering across the floor. Useless, he said. Trinkets, relics, symbols. The people who would value it don't exist anymore. They mean nothing. You have nothing to give. None of you do. You come to me empty, hoping chaos will fill you. But chaos does not care. Chaos consumes. And you are nothing but lives waiting to be spent. Selena staggered back, her face pale, her body shaking. You reject me? Kenneth laughed again, crude and mocking. I get marriage proposals weekly from demon queens and dark nobility. They offer themselves, their bodies, their power. I decline every time. They're boring. And they never have a big enough ass. The group froze, flustered, unsure how to respond. Ravla growled, her massive frame tense. You mock us, but you know why we are here. You know Lobos guided us. Kenneth's eyes snapped to her, his expression shifting.
Ah.
The wolf girl, burdened by size, exiled by her clan, sold for meat because she was too big to mate. Meat and mate, same letters, same fate. You were locked away, dismissed, forgotten. And yet Lobos touched you. You carry a Nexus event linked directly to me. That is how you found me. That is how you stand here. Ravla's breath caught, her eyes wide. You know? Kenneth nodded slowly. I see beyond lunar sight. I see all futures, all failures. None of you matter. You're all the byproduct of cascading failure. And yet you are here because Lobos wills it. He stared at them a long time now, watching and thinking to himself, not about them but about Lobos, the absentee night god that never seemed to do anything but show others how to do what he needed them to. But he was always correct, always accurate in his instructions. Julian's voice was steady, though his eyes burned. Then tell us what we must do. Why did Lobos send us to you? Kenneth turned away, his robes trailing dust across the floor. Navos. The moon you fled. The temple you abandoned. That was the origin. The corrupted ritual of Lobos began there. You seek answers in chaos, but chaos is none. Your path leads back, not forward. Return to Navos. Return to the beginning. Ben stepped forward, his voice sharp. We already fought there. We lost Taran. The moon is gone, taken by the G. It's not possible to travel back to time-impacted areas. We tried. Kenneth's tone was cold. Time is not linear. It is not circular. It is simultaneous and multidimensional. The ritual was corrupted in the past. You must go back. But know this. You cannot open a temporal event where one already exists. The paradox will consume you. You will fail. There are only two ways to inject yourself into a temporal paradox. Selena's voice was bitter. You give us nothing. Kenneth's eyes gleamed. I give you truth. And truth is the only gift chaos offers. You are not heroes. You are not saviors. You are failures walking toward your end, having caused your end. And yet, in failure, you may find victory. That is the paradox. That is chaos. That is the truth. The group stood in silence, flustered but not broken. Julian's wings trembled, Ben's fists clenched, Selena's eyes burned with tears, and Ravla's heart pounded with fear and defiance. Kenneth sat upon his throne, his voice echoing through the chamber.
Go.
Spend your lives. Chaos will not remember you, but perhaps Lobos will. And with that, the audience was over. The palace faded into mist, the throne dissolving into dust. The group found themselves outside once more, the gates closed behind them. Julian looked at his companions, his voice quiet but firm. Navos, we return.
Ben Grovled.
Then let's finish this. Selena wiped her eyes, her voice trembling. He rejected me. He crushed everything I offered. But he was right. We have nothing. Ravla placed a hand on her shoulder, her voice steady. We have each other. That is enough. Julian's gaze lingered on Ravla, his eyes softening. Then let us hold on to that. Because truth may be cruel, but it is still truth either way. Hold on, stopped Selena.
What?
You said the truth either way, repeated Selena, realizing something. What have you got? Asked Ben, unfolding his arms. What if we keep thinking about it all wrong? What if instead of going to the past, we go to the extreme past and then launch ourselves into the future, toward the Nexus event, the corrupted ritual? How? Asked Ravla. With that stupid bomb Taran told us about, said Selena, smiling. Blast 'em to the Stone Age, recited Ben with a smirk. The aero base shimmered into existence, its engines humming. The group boarded, their hearts heavy but resolute. Behind them, the palace of the Chaos Lord vanished into the void, leaving only dust on the throne. Chapter 3. Blast 'em to the Stone Age. The aero base drifted through the void, its engines humming with the resonance of time itself. Julian stood at the helm, his wings folded, his eyes fixed on the stars. The memory of Lord Kenneth Voidcrusher's words lingered in his mind, each syllable echoing like a curse. None of you matter. Ben paced behind him, restless, his fists clenched. We can't keep running, he growled. We need something more than prayers and visions. We need a weapon. Selena leaned against the wall, her crimson eyes gleaming with sardonic amusement. And what do you suggest, Fox? Another speech? Another scream into the void. Ben shot her a glare. I'm not talking about words. I'm talking about Tauren schematics. He left them in the aerobase logs. The temporal bomb. Blast him to the Stone Age. This thing looks like it shares an energy signature with the Gargantuan. Julian turned, his expression grim. We tried time before. It doesn't work. The paradoxes consume us. The hordes follow. We'll have to use the bomb to launch us into the Nexus event once we are moving fluid through time again. Ben's jaw tightened. What if we're ripped apart by the bomb and never make it to the Nexus event from the distant past? Ravla stepped forward, her massive frame tense. That won't happen. Her eyes lingered on Julian, her voice softening. You said faith isn't about gods. It's about what we choose to believe. I believe in you in this plan. I will follow. Julian's gaze softened, but his voice remained steady. Then let's blow ourselves up. Ben smirked, his eyes burning with determination. We've done everything else. Why not just detonate a bomb on top of our heads? The aero base descended toward ancient Navos, the moon untouched by war, its surface alive with primitive wolf clans. They lived in small communities, their huts woven from stone and bone, their howls echoing across the craters. The group landed on the horizon, the schematics glowing on the console. Ben studied them, his voice sharp. We detonate here. The crater becomes a mountain. The mountain becomes a temple. Selena raised an eyebrow. You're rewriting history with explosives. Bold. Tauren's voice haunted them, his hologram echoing in memory. Blast 'em to the Stone Age. They set the bomb, its core pulsing with temporal energy. Julian watched silently, his wings trembling. Ravla stood beside him, her hand brushing his arm. "Do you trust him?" she asked. Julian's voice was quiet. "I trust his rage. Sometimes rage is enough." The bomb detonated, the horizon shattering. A crater tore into the moon's surface, its edges glowing with temporal fire. The wolf clans gathered, their howls rising in awe. They filled the crater with stone and mineral, building a mountain over it, declaring it sacred. The Temple of Lobos was born. Night fell, and the ritual began. Purple energies swirled within the mountain, the air thick with power. Instantly another bomb burst, and the group emerged from the ancient past. Ravla guided them through the temple to the shock and awe of the others, who said nothing but watched avidly at the group as they worked their way to the inner portion of the temple. She guided them with nods and strange words the others did not understand. In an elder language, the other wolf folk nodded too and let them pass. Though she seemed to be in control, her body was trembling. Being here at all was a sacred honor. "This is it," she whispered. "The dimensional howling. A ritual of Lobos meant to aid worlds along the multiverse that worship him under the moon. Somehow this ritual is corrupted, I just don't know how." They stopped at an altar where a lone wolf man, young but able-bodied, laid calmly with his hands over his chest. A red fawn glowed slowly over on a pedestal, the entire temple seeming to draw on the light of the strange fawn laid intentionally over the young wolf man. Suddenly, the sky split. A carcass fell from the heavens, burning with temporal fire. It was Tauran, his body seething with green energy from the recently detonated bomb. His armored carcass crashed into the temple through the side of the mountain when he landed, his corpse glowing with lunar energy as he suddenly crushed the laying wolf man out of nowhere, knocking the red fawn away and replacing what was to be a sacrifice with his corpse in his tattered armor. Selena screamed, rushing forward.
"No."
She grabbed him, her hands burning with dark power. Lunar sight flooded her vision, and for a moment, she saw an alternate life. Herself and Tauran, hesitant friends, navigating their worlds with dumb luck. But the temple groaned, its stones collapsing. The energy consumed them both, crushing Selena and Tauran beneath the weight of history. Julian shouted, his wings flaring.
"Ben!"
"Get us out." Ben's voice thundered, his audiokinetic power slicing through reality. "Move!" His words shattered stone, creating a path. Julian grabbed Ravla, pulling her free as the temple collapsed behind them. Outside, the wolf clans howled in terror. The ritual was ruined, but not corrupted. The nexus of Gargantuan's influence faltered, the chain of negative events broken. But then the sky burned. A massive explosion of power tore through the night, and from it descended the dark techno-lord Gargantuan. His armor gleamed, his technosphere crackled, his presence overwhelming. He was the final form, the culmination of all corruption, the dark god of machines and time. He stared down at the three of them now, a terrifying version Tauran if they ever saw one. Ravla roared, charging forward. For Lobos, she struck, her claws tearing at his armor. Gargantuan sneered, his spear flashing. He impaled her, her body convulsing as blood spilled across the stones. Julian screamed, his wings flaring. Ravla, he rushed to her side, his hands glowing with twilight. He covered her with his feathers, healing her wounds, his eyes burning with grief. Ben stepped forward, his rage unbound. "You took my world. You took my people. You took everything. Now I take you." Gargantuan laughed, his voice metallic. He rose arrogantly through the air. "Come to rip my face off." Ben's eyes blazed. "Better." He inhaled, his lungs filling with air, his body trembling with power. He summoned everything, his strength, his soul, his fury. His voice thundered across the moon and impossibly out into space. Triangle. The sky split. A continent-sized pyramid of energy erupted, a concussive missile forged from sound itself. It slammed into Gargantuan, blasting him into the upper atmosphere, tearing through space. The explosion was a supernova, a burst of light that consumed the heavens in an all-consuming glow. Ben collapsed, his body withering. His voice was gone, his power spent. He smiled faintly, his eyes closing. Julian caught him, his wings trembling. "Fool," he whispered, grief choking his voice. "You damned fool." Ravla staggered to them, her body weak but alive. "He saved us," she whispered. "He saved everything." Julian's eyes burned with sorrow, at the cost of his life. Epilogue: Blood of Navos. The battlefield was silent, but for the crackle of fire and the low, mournful howls of the wolf clans. Navos lay broken, its sacred mountain reduced to rubble, its temple collapsed into dust. The air was thick with ash, and the stars above seemed dimmed, as though the heavens themselves recoiled from what had transpired. Julian stood amidst the ruins, his wings torn, his body trembling. Ravla leaned against him, her massive frame scorched, her silver hair singed, her breath shallow but defiant. Ben was gone, his final word, triangle, still echoing in Julian's mind like a thunderclap. Selena was gone too, crushed beneath the temple with Tauran, her visions silenced forever. Only Julian and Ravla remained. Ravla, who had been exhausted, suddenly perked her head up, terrified. A shadow was instantly cast from above, and then the ground shook, with a shuddering impact. The Gargantuan had returned. The Technolord staggered forward, his armor shattered, his body bleeding streams of molten light. His spear was broken, but his eyes burned with vengeance. "You thought you could end me," he snarled, his voice metallic and cruel. "But I am eternal. I am seated across time. I am the conqueror of all." Julian's gaze hardened.
No.
"You are a parasite, and parasites can be burned out." Ravla growled, her claws flexing though her body was weak. "Julian, you can't fight him alone." Julian's voice was quiet, but resolute. "I was never alone. Ben gave everything. Selena gave everything. Tauran gave everything. Now it is my turn." Gargantuan laughed, a sound like grinding gears. "You are a fallen angel. You wield twilight, not light. You cannot destroy me. No dark power can destroy me. Don't you see?" Julian spread his wings, and for the first time, Ravla saw the truth. Golden feathers glimmered among the black, each one stolen from fallen temples, each one a conduit of angelic force. His body burned with their power, his veins alight with celestial fire. Ravla gasped. You gathered the golden feathers from your own fallen temples. All this time." Julian nodded. "Ben and I made a pact. He would give everything in one word, one strike. And I would gather what remained, the feathers of fallen worlds, the remnants of faith. Together, we would end Gargantuan, even if it killed us." Lord Kenneth's words echoed in his mind. "None of you matter." Julian smiled faintly. He was right. None of us matter. Had we not started this here on Navos, had we just never came here, we wouldn't have been the last of anything. Gargantuan roared, charging forward. Julian's wings flared, golden and black feathers blazing. He raised his hands, and angelic force surged through him, consuming his body, tearing at his soul. Light erupted, pure and terrible, incinerating Gargantuan. The Technolord screamed, his body dissolving into ash, his essence burned from existence. The blast consumed Julian, his body collapsing, his wings aflame. He fell to his knees, his breath ragged, his eyes dimming. Ravla crawled to him, her body scorched, her voice trembling. "Don't leave me," she whispered. "Don't deny it. I know. I knew from the start. I smelled it. Your desire. Your love. You wanted me. You love me." Julian laughed weakly, his voice a whisper. "You knew, even when I tried to hide it, even when I buried it beneath revenge. You knew." Ravla pressed her forehead to his, her tears mingling with blood.
"Say it, please."
"Say it once." Julian's eyes softened, his lips curving into a faint smile. I love you, Ravla Silverfang. From the moment I freed you, from the moment you believed in me, I love you. She sobbed, her massive frame trembling. Then let me die with you. Julian's hand brushed her cheek, his touch gentle despite the fire consuming him. We die together, and in our blood, Navos will remember. Lobos will remember, she whispered faithfully. They embraced, their bodies burning, their souls entwined. The ground beneath them drank their blood, the soil seething with power. The wolf clans watched in silence, their howls rising in mourning and reverence. Lord Kenneth's prophecy echoed once more. None of you matter. But Julian understood now. Kenneth had not spoken despair. He had spoken truth.
And truth was not the end.
Truth was the seed. None of them mattered. Their deaths only facilitated a purpose, through time that could have ended all time. To end the cycle of death, to end the Gargantuan would be to end them all. And as he felt his body go cold, Ravla already limp and silent by his side, Julian realized one more thing. They were all the Gargantuan. They had all contributed to that immense evil, directly or indirectly. Now he saw what annoyed Lord Kenneth Voidcrusher so much in their audience with him. Julian was now fully aware of their insolence. They asked him to help solve a problem they were forcing him to be a part of by asking. That Lobos, the wolf god, was perhaps as much a trickster as he was a reverent deity. Julian's breath slowed, his eyes closing. He smiled, his final breath a whisper. Good night, Ravla. The moon was silent. The temple was gone. Gargantuan was ash. And in the soil, their blood mingled, seeding generations to come and enriching the minerals and soil, leaving unknowable remnants of a battle won, a world scarred, and a truth so insane, so unbelievable, it could only have been theirs.